Happy Sunday and welcome into another edition of Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you taking the time out of your weekend to hang out here with us. And coming up on the show, some Sixers trade rumors, players who are reportedly being shopped by their current teams, and then they become Sixers trade targets naturally for Philadelphia and Daryl Morey to inquire about and potentially acquire this offseason. Trade target number one, you want to talk about a scorer who's really going to fortify your bench and give you three-level scoring off the pine and be able to fill it up on a night-to-night basis, who has six-man of the year chops. That's Jordan Clarkson of the Utah Jazz. Will he get dealt? He's been involved in trade discussions over the last couple of years. Evan Sittery with this one, that the Jazz are expected to make Jordan Clarkson available on the trade market after renegotiating and extending his contract. Clarkson only owed $14 million annually over the next 2 years. Utah could fetch additional draft capital from contenders in need of a scoring punch. You think about that 16th overall pick for Philadelphia, would you be willing to include that in a trade for Jordan Clarkson? The wheels are starting to get moving here because check out his numbers over the last 4 years. And when I say he's been a consistent bucket getter, that's what he is. And I do believe that he'd really be able to help you in the NBA playoffs. You think back to the first-round series against the Knicks, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, really good. But the scoring load outside of the two pillars, it was vacant. It was missing on a lot of nights. Finally, Kelly Oubre got going in that series, but could you imagine that in the non-Embiid minutes, you have a player like Jordan Clarkson who comes in off the bench and he can give you what he's given his teams over the last 4 years, which has consistently been between 16 to 20 points per game. He is a chucker. There's no doubt about that. And some nights he'll be in fuego. Other nights he'll be as frigid as the North Pole. But that scoring punch could be a nice little addition chip for Philadelphia coming in off the bench.
And he is what he is at this point, right? You said it. He's going to be inefficient. He's going to put up a lot of shots, and he's not really going to make plays for others, and he's not really going to defend either. But you know what he's going to do? He's going to score the ball off the bench, and the Sixers could use somebody who could come off the bench in those minutes where you might not have Embiid, you might not have Maxey on the floor. Someone who can at least put the bucket in the basket, put the ball in the basket.
Yep.
You know,
putting the bucket in the basket might be hard.
That'd be tough. That'd be really impressive. That'd be really impressive. I know this isn't the Utah player a lot of Sixers fans are going to want. They're going to say, oh, what about Lauri Markkanen? Look, the Jazz aren't moving Lauri Markkanen. But a player like Jordan Clarkson, if you lose out on, D'Anthony Melton, probably gone. Buddy Hield, probably gone. You're going to need players that don't cost a lot. Jordan Clarkson, pretty cheap on that contract as well. A talented player. Again, I wouldn't want him starting next to Tyrese Maxey because his defense just not a guy that I want out there, but,
right.
Can come in, play 25 minutes a game, give you 16 off the bench. That'd be something the Sixers could really take advantage of next season.
Yeah. Certainly an interesting player from that area of just providing bench scoring, which at times for Philadelphia, it seems as though the last couple of years they've tried so hard to find that type of player. Trade target number two is Andrew Wiggins of the Golden State Warriors. What a crazy last couple of years he's had, where when the Warriors won the title in 2022, he made it to the All-Star game for the first time. Very solid player on both ends of the floor still, but then an excellent defender. Had a really good year in shooting the rock that year. Last couple of years, he's had to deal with family issues and injuries, and because of that, the offensive game has really fallen, and then the defensive game, surprisingly, has also regressed, which has been a surprise because Andrew Wiggins has always been known as that pogo stick athlete who, if he doesn't have it going on the offensive end, he's always really stout on the other side of the floor. Once again, you look at this report that the Warriors are expected to actively shop Andrew Wiggins in trade talks this offseason. Very expensive here, ladies and gentlemen. $84.7 million remaining on his contract over the next 3 years. He signed that extension with Golden State, by the way, after that great title performance when him and Steph Curry were the two best players on the floor in that series against the Boston Celtics. Lastly, with the emergence of Jonathan Kuminga, Golden State will attempt to offload Wiggins for a better fit. And the numbers here, last 2 years, you see the decline. And last year, 2022, 2023, that's when he had to deal with some of those family issues, injury issues. The numbers aren't terrible. 17 points per game, 47% from the floor, almost 40% from three-point range. But then this past year, 13 points per game, 45% from the field, three-point numbers down to 36. To me, it was more of an eye test thing where you're like, man, Andrew Wiggins is really killing the Warriors right now. And the advanced shooting numbers, paltry. Catch and shoot three-point percentage, 35.5%. From 10 feet to the three-point line, 35.4%. And then the pull-up jump shot, that's something that he had working during that All-Star year. It's gone by the wayside, 29.1%. Chip, a lot of money, declining production. Those are two big concerns.
Yeah, the idea of Andrew Wiggins and the player he was when the Warriors won that title a few years back would be a perfect player for the Sixers. That 3-and-D wing can knock it down from outside, create his own shot, get to the paint. He does everything you'd want out of a complimentary star. But he doesn't do that anymore. Whatever happened, with him the past couple of years, he just isn't the same player that he was that year with the Warriors. And look, I don't think there's really a chance you can get that back out of him anymore. If maybe Daryl Morey, if he looks at Wiggins as a potential trade target, thinks we see what he did a few years ago for a championship team. We're looking for wings who, as Morey said, looking for wings that are proven in the playoffs. And obviously Wiggins had a great playoff run. The money, though, factored into it, it's just too expensive for a player that you're really banking on reverting back to a previous version of himself that I just don't think is in there anymore.
You know what I also really liked from Wiggins during that championship run? He gave the Warriors what Josh Hart gave the Knicks during this playoff run. The guy who'd crashed the glass from the three-point arc and was a very active rebounder, which then leads to second chance opportunities, extended possessions, momentum swings. That is something that Wiggins could be able to bring to the table because he's still a good athlete. With that, we pop up today's poll question. Should the Sixers revive Wiggins' career? Giving him CPR here. Y for yes, N for no. Share your thoughts with us down below in the comments section. We always appreciate your interaction with us here on 76ers Now. More to get to and more trade targets to talk about, but first, 76ers Now sponsored by Prize Picks. And with Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game just by watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering the select player stat projections on Tuesdays, Taco Tuesday, which increases your chances of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members, of course, including myself and producer Chip. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. Our picks for Game 1 of the NBA Finals: Mavs, Celtics. Give me Dallas, F Boston. Derek Lively, more than 17 points, rebounds, and assists. Derek White, more than 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And in that same category, Luka Doncic, more than 48.5. You can win big money with Prize Picks. You can withdraw your winnings, all within the app. Pick more, pick less. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Get a $100 deposit match using that link. Trade target number 3, a player who we have talked about in the past here on 76ers Now as that other ball handler, two-way player, Malcolm Brogdon, Portland Trailblazers. The Celtics pretty much giving him away, the 6th man of the year last year, in order to pave open the opportunity to get Drew Holiday. And it's worked out for Boston as they put together a magnificent season, which pains me to say. Michael Scotto Hoops Height with some intel on Brogdon. One of Portland's best three-point shooters at 41.2% in 39 games last year, is a player that rival executives are monitoring heading into the draft as a possible trade candidate. Brogdon is entering the final year of his contract, $22.5 million for this upcoming season. Could Philadelphia basically let DeAnthony Melton walk? And then bring in a player like Malcolm Brogdon, more expensive for sure, but a better offensive player, and he could still D you up on the other side of the floor. 15.7 points per game this past year. Of course, the games played for him always a big concern. 44% from the deck, and then 41% from downtown. And going back to that point of the games played, this ain't good because you're already factoring in Joel Embiid's injury history, at the very least load management, and he has played more than 60 games just once over the last 5 years, and that was 2 years ago with Boston when he won Sixth Man of the Year. I thought he kind of stole Rookie of the Year away from Embiid and Dario Saric that year, by the way, but that's in the rearview mirror. But the games played, that's not in the rearview mirror because this could surface in the future, and Chip, I don't like the sight of that.
Yeah, it's certainly not ideal. The one thing I'll say here with Brogdon, I like his game a lot. Think he'd be a great guard to start next to Maxey as opposed to someone like Jordan Clarkson we talked about. I don't think he'd start. I think Brogdon could start at the 2 and be a good fit next to Maxey, but he could also come off the bench. The thing with Brogdon, I'd be a little more inclined to actually trade for him despite the injury concerns because he is on an expiring deal. So, if you don't like what you get from him at the trade deadline, say you trade from the offseason, trade deadline comes around, he's not giving you a whole lot, he was injured at some point, there'd be a team who would be willing to take on that expiring deal, maybe if you would throw a couple picks, and you could get another asset back for that. So I think the fact that he is on an expiring deal is a little bit valuable. And if he's really good and he stays healthy, you can keep him around, you can extend him. He's a player, when the Celtics won that run, was tremendous.
Yeah.
And he's a floor spacer. Again, he's another one of those guys that just makes winning plays and does everything right. I'd love his fit in Philadelphia, but again, can he stay healthy? We talk about a lot of injury-prone players on this show, it seems. Those are a lot of the type of players that are available for trade. Makes sense. But if he can stay healthy again, he'd be a great fit.
Yeah, we're scarred by the injury bug here on the show when you've had to watch Joel Embiid year in and year out like we have. And Chip making a good point. The fact that he's on that expiring deal, that makes it somewhat attractive. I do think that price tag is pretty affordable for what you could get with Malcolm Brogdon playing at his peak. But then at the same time, you might be having to give something up for a player who you get 1 year of production from. And if he's injured in that 1 year, that obviously causes problems too. Another injury-prone player who has some local ties is DeAndre Hunter of the Atlanta Hawks. And this is a player who has been involved in trade discussions a lot as well. It's a player, though, who has a lot of ability, who I think if he's able to stay on the floor and fully tap into his potential, he could become special because he's certainly shown glimpses of that. Went to high school at Friends Central, grew up and was born in Philadelphia, the 4th overall pick in the 2019 draft after he played for Tony Bennett at Virginia. Michael Scotto with some more intel here on DeAndre Hunter. Hawks forward DeAndre Hunter was another name rival executives expected to become available for Atlanta as the draft nears. Let me tell you this too, I would not rule out Trae Young getting traded this offseason if Atlanta altogether just decides to blow it up, reset that organization, and go through this little rebuilding phase to retool a little bit. For Hunter, the games played there, 23, 53, 67, 57. It's not like he's missed a bunch of time, but he has had a lot of nagging injuries. But you also look at the numbers that he's put forward the last 2 years. You get the 15 points per game, about 46% from the floor, and then upper 30s as far as three-point shooting. I'm kind of intrigued by that. And then if you're banking on that growth continuing, as he's going to be 27 years old in December, he is under contract for the next couple of years. And could he be that player at that kind of wing spot who can guard a couple of different positions, pose some different matchup problems at a decently affordable price rate? $21.5 million, 23.3, and then 24.9. Chip, your thoughts on DeAndre Hunter here? A player who we've seen some impressive play from, but some of those nagging injuries holding him back. But I do still think that slowed his development, but that development could still take place.
Yeah, he had a big bounce back year this year for the Atlanta Hawks. Had a down year last year, only wasn't really able to hit the three ball much, but shot upwards of 38% from three this year, so able to show some growth in that regard. And, coming out of Virginia, he's always been a great defender, right? That's part of what he's known for. Now, I don't think he's quite reached his ceiling of what he can be as a defender, but that's why I kind of like this move as well because, Sixers fans, we just talk about wanting to get younger guys that can grow. This is an example of that. And on a pretty affordable contract, $20 million nowadays in the NBA is role player money, in all honesty. So if he comes in, stays healthy, can easily be a 3 or a 4 starting for you next to whatever other wing you bring in. If you maintain Kelly Oubre, Nick Batum, whatever you want to do there.
Yeah.
He has talent, and he has ability to keep getting better and be that 3-and-D wing that the Sixers continue to look for year in and year out. Now, would I give the 16th pick for DeAndre Hunter in this draft? Maybe, because this draft in particular is weaker than in previous years. The Hawks are going to be going through a bit of a retool. If he's available at an affordable asking price, I'd take a shot on him. See if you can't bank on a good contract for the next couple of years.
Lastly, might be the favorite player that I'm looking at on this list, and that's Dorian Finney-Smith. I think that Dodo, really good fit for Philadelphia. I think he has the dog mentality that would certainly work in the city. He's not going to fear the opponent. He's willing to rise up, play well in some big spots, get it out of the mud. He's always been kind of a diamond in the rough type of player. He was awesome alongside Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson a couple of years ago when the Mavs made that run to the Western Conference Finals. As a 3-and-D player who can shoot it, guard a couple of different positions at a really high level, Dorian Finney-Smith could be a fantastic addition for the Sixers here. Evan Siddery of Forbes Sports with the intel on this front. Strong candidate to be traded by the Nets this offseason. He was shot by Brooklyn at the deadline, received robust interest from contenders. And those contenders, they're smart like Chip and myself. They understand the value that Dorian Finney-Smith could bring a basketball team. Did you get the sarcasm? I don't think I'm that smart. Last 4 years, the points per game, they're not going to blow you away, right? The production is not going to jump off the screen. But this is that type of glue guy player that I would really like for the Sixers. And when he played for the Mavericks, 39% in 2020, 2021, and then the following season from three-point range. Why is that? He got open looks playing with Luka and Brunson. Last 2 years, though, those numbers have declined a little bit. He comes to the Philadelphia 76ers alongside Maxey and Embiid. He'll get those open looks. So could this be a buy low, but then you get great returns as far as the investment if he's able to put up those numbers? Guards multiple positions, high leverage defender, can help you out against wings, can help you out against bigger players too, and Chippy can knock down the triple.
And this is the exact kind of role player that we've been talking about, and Sixers fans have been talking about, that they need for so long.
Yeah.
It's one of those guys where not going to pay him a bunch. He's not going to take a bunch of shots. He's not going to be high maintenance on the offensive side of the ball, but he's going to do all the little things right. As you said, a great point you made where, the three-point number, you look at it just from a statistical perspective, it's been down the past couple of years, right? But he's been playing on that Brooklyn Nets team that really has had no direction, hasn't really had a lot of creators in the point guard spot. They're running out there with Cam Thomas, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. They don't really have guys that are creating open looks like a Luka Doncic did. I think he would get a lot of open looks playing for the Sixers team where, we've seen Tobias Harris brick countless corner threes, wide open corner threes. Yeah. I think Dorian Finney-Smith would be able to benefit from that and knock down those wide open looks. Honestly, I would trade pick 16 for DFS because he is one of those valuable role players that they don't just grow on trees, right? Those 3-and-D guys that can come in and are valuable experience. So Dorian Finney-Smith, fifth guy on this list, but you said might be my number one out of all these 5 guys here listed.
It's funny because at the NBA trade deadline, what are a lot of contenders oftentimes looking for? 3-and-D wings. Because they understand that the positional versatility and the role, when you get into the thick of a playoff series, those types of dudes are important. So that's 5 trade targets right there. Which trade target is your favorite? Pick one or name your own down in the comment section. Hope you're all having a great weekend. You're not too hungover, and we'll see you on Monday here on 76ers Now.